So Brad Lawler, Home Team Inspection Service, and Cora over at Pitt and Frank, you're going to want to get on this as well. Zach is about to sell his home. He has a problem with mold in the bathroom. And he says in this email, he's asking actually, if he paints over it, will it pass a home inspection? Brad, let's start there.
Well, all right. So here's what I'm going to say, and I'm going to let Cora talk about the other stuff. But
yeah,
if a client paints over something and the home inspector is not going to be, we may not know that there's been a fresh coat of paint. Now, if there's something that looks like a patch job, we might recognize that, but we don't know how, what the conditions were before that paint went onto the wall, because the home inspection itself is a visual only, non-invasive, non-destructive evaluation of the home. So that being said, painting over mold is only going to be a very temporary solution. Now maybe he's using, a product like Kills or something that's more of an oil-based or shellac-based sealer that'll do a better job. But if you're just using latex paint and trying to paint over mold, you're probably, a day or two later, the mold's going to be right back. So I wouldn't waste my time trying to paint over the problem. I would clean up the problem, because treating that mold is a pretty simple thing to do. Worst case, you just remove the piece of drywall that the mold is on. If chemical treatments don't work, just remove the material, patch it, and make the proper repair, and then you don't have to worry about the mold coming back.
Or find the source of the mold, which is water typically from behind in the shower. All right, so
it's moisture, right? So you're going to have to remove the moisture. So in a bathroom, it may be that they're not running the exhaust. Maybe the exhaust fan doesn't work. Maybe they've got a bathroom that has a window that you have to open in order to let the steam out. But yes, that's certainly removing the moisture is going to be the first leg of the stool that has to be removed in order to stop the growth of the mold.
And from a legal standpoint, Cora, over at Pitt and Frank, this can be a tricky wicket, because if the mold comes back, and typically it might if it's not cured, the buyer of the home can come back after the seller, right?
You're exactly right. And I concur with everything Brad said. So that is not going to bode well as a seller if you try to cover that up, if you try to conceal what could be a material defect. I mean, mold, as Brad had mentioned, it's not just aesthetic. It's not just simply painting that over. There could be a real cause behind it that will continue to exist and just create further damage. So that could create potentially a misrepresentation claim or fraud claim even, right? Because it's there after the closing. So it's not going to work. That is going to survive closing, just like that. The mold will survive the repaint there if not properly treated. Also, I'll make mention that on a seller's disclosures that are required there for your residential transactions, it makes mention of the presence of mold and if it's been properly remediated. So you want to make sure that your actions are consistent with whatever you're disclosing. You always want to disclose, okay? So we want to err on the side of disclosure, however big, however small. Get it taken care of. And just when you think that you're going to sweep it under that paintbrush or sweep it under that roller, it will come back to rear its ugly head. And the damages could be far more than the cost to have properly completed it in the beginning.
Not to mention losing sleep.